Chapter 19 of Short Stories for Short People. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Sharon Chimeradan. Short Stories for Short People by Alicia Stuart Aspinwall. Chapter 19. The Sad Experience of Poor Pomposity. Grr, grr, grr. What am I growling at? Do you see the small white dog in that picture opposite? 'Tis at him I growl, and I will tell you why. My master is an artist. One day he decided to paint me. Of course you have noticed what a fine dog I am. Have I not the brightest eyes, the silkiest hair, the waggiest tail you ever saw? And can't you almost see the blue blood through my delicate skin? My master and mistress admire me very much, and he wished naturally to paint a picture of me. Somewhere in the background he also put my mistress, an excellent foil to me. A few weeks ago, master put the finishing touches to the picture, completing the very tip of one of my beautiful ears. "There," said he to mistress, in whose lap I was sitting. "That is Pomp himself, with his own air of conscious superiority and dignity." My real name, by the way, is not Pomp, but Pomposity, and to tell you the honest truth, I am not quite sure what it means. I wish I did know, although of course it is something very nice. Well, mistress agreed with master in thinking that the picture could not be better, and I was allowed to jump down. Now in the studio there is the very softest, nicest chair you can imagine, but for some strange reason my master does not let me lie in it. He told me himself that it was covered with old tapestry, and when I knew it was after all nothing nice and new, I sat upon it whenever whenever I felt like doing it. This night after supper I found to my delight the studio door a little open, and creeping in, I went to my dear chair, and was soon happily dozing. I heard them calling and calling for me, but as I never came at their call at any time, that did not trouble me, and I dozed on. At last they went to bed, and the house was still. The moon rose and looked in the window. Curious old thing she is. She stared at me till I growled, and at last I actually had to turn my back toward her. Then she looked at everything in the room, going into all the dark corners and examining everything carefully. At last she shone full on the picture, and there she stayed, and I could not blame her for doing so, for it really looked very lovely. While we were both gazing at it, you can imagine my feelings when the dog in the picture I, began to move. He turned about and faced me. I was, of course, beside myself, and running to the picture said, "What are you going to do?" "Coming out to see you," was the saucy answer. "Never," said I angrily. "Master has often said there was no dog like me, and do you think I am going to have a rival who looks exactly like me trotting about? Go back. Don't you know that you are only a painted dog? You are not real." But the miserable little wretch only looked at me defiantly. Still glaring at him and growling, I backed slowly to my chair, but had not reached it when the picture dog, all wet with paint as he was, jumped from his mistress's lap and out into the room. And then the chase began. Round he ran, and round I ran after him. Over chairs and tables we flew. Crash! And the beautiful vase lay broken on the floor. Tst! And a piece of Persian embroidery was torn as we passed through it. Crash! And another vase was broken. And then I caught him and gave him a terrific bite on his hind leg. But that one bite was enough for me. Ugh! Think of a dog guilty of such bad taste as that, pretending to be a dog of breeding. He had now jumped upon me and gave me a slight bite on the nose, but just at that moment my picture mistress called him. He ran at once, and putting his 2 wet paws on the beautiful gold frame, pulled himself up and into the picture, and jumped on his mistress's lap. I was, of course, very indignant with her for interfering, and running to the picture, said, "Madam, did you ever hear of woman's sphere? That frame is yours. Remain in it." At these words she was, of course, very much ashamed of herself, and could not say one word in answer. And now comes the sad, sad part of my story. When master came in the morning, I went up to him like an honest dog, and explained matters. But he only gazed about the room, which indeed did look dreadful in the bright light of day. "Pomp, Pomp," he said in a low, blood-curdling tone, and pointing first at the broken vases, and then at the wet paint which that miserable little cur had scattered everywhere. "Naughty dog," he continued, and then he slapped me. I ran wildly to the picture, barking. I thought, of course, that as soon as he saw those telltale marks on the frame, master would know who the real culprit was. But alas, what do you think he said? "Yes, I see, Pomp. You were barking at your picture, thinking it was another dog, and for that opinion I am much obliged, I am sure. But why did you walk over my palette before you stepped on the frame? No, Pomp, you need not shake your head. I know you did it, for see, here are the marks of your 2 guilty little paws." I was powerless after this to make him understand the true facts of the case, although I never would have believed that a man as intelligent as master could be so stupid. Well, I was punished. No walk did I get that day, and for many, many days I was forbidden to enter my dear studio. Master has now varnished the picture, I am glad to say, so there is no chance of the dog's ever getting out again. But do you wonder that I growl at him, horrid beast? Grrr, grrr, grrr. End of chapter 19. Recording by Sharon Chimeradan of sharonmedia.net.